Welcome to the new year. Let's get you ready for it. Roll it, Kirk. Who's ready to win in 2025? Well, if you want to win, you got to call somebody who knows what winning is all about. Julio Melara, the president and CEO of Melara Enterprises, owning the Baton Rouge Business Report and Register 225 magazine, motivational speaker, author, husband, father. You wear a lot of hats, bro.
Keeps me busy. Keeps me busy.
Well, welcome to it. It's good to have you back, man. Let's
you.
talk about 2024 before we delve into 25. Biggest takeaways from the year that's gone by.
Well, big challenging year in 2024, right? And hopefully a lot of lessons extracted from the struggles and the storms. For me personally, it was really probably one of the most challenging years in the last couple of decades. But, resiliency and endurance make you stronger, right? And so it has set the tone for 2025, and so I'm excited about the new year.
So Julio also is our guest on the C-Suite, the first one of 2025. We've already taped that, but in that interview, to give a sneak peek, you talked about you and your family being intentional about a word for the new year. Yes. Tell everybody about that.
Well, I think it's extremely important, Clay. Any road will take you there if you don't know where you're going.
Right.
So you have to have goals. You have to have a focus. And years ago, my buddy John Gordon, who you know, Arthur the Energy Bus, introduced me to the one word. And so we select one word, a word that signifies what you want to focus on, where you want to grow, an area of your life, right, that you want to improve on. And so it could be gratitude, right? It could be reflective thinking. It could be your health. It could be but only one word. And so I got my kids to do it, and it's been a game changer. And so much so that we create these wristband that we have. And so last year, my daughter was grow. One of my sons was gratitude. Another one was discipline, right? And those are areas that they want to grow and improve on. So it keeps it top of mind, because if it's not top of mind, out of sight, out of mind, right? And so it's a great way to stay focused and have clarity.
How do you maintain positive, high energy, even in the midst of all the things that you do?
Well, I think that the most important thing, life is hard, right? Yeah. We're not positive because life is easy, but life is hard. And so it's a mindset.
Right.
And mindset dictates your attitude. So mindset is the way we see the world. And so every single day, right, we got to be good stewards of our mind, right? Feeding our mind. First thing in the morning, right, you got to make sure that you're feeding your mind, the right type of information, right? Being a good steward of your mind, because the battles of life, Clay, are fought in here, not externally, right? But if you win the game on the inside, you'll win the game on the outside. So you have to be real intentional about what you read, what you listen to, what you watch, right? Because that sets the tone for your day, your month, and your year.
So how do you categorize the energy you take into your business, the energy you take into your home life, the energy you take into your alone time? How do you keep the same high energy but categorize them differently, because those contexts are different?
Well, there's 4 types of energy, right? You've got mental energy, you've got physical energy, you got emotional energy, you got spiritual energy. And I think most people are not in tune, right? That we give up vibes and frequencies, right? I know, we talked about it a little bit earlier, right? The highest frequency that we could all be living and working it through is with peace, love, joy, right? Those are fruits of the spirit. Mm-hmm. Some of the lowest ones, right, are fear, and envy and jealousy and bitterness, right? And so that's why you can feel the energy when you walk into a room. You have different vibes with different people, right? Mm-hmm. And again, I've been very, very intentional. Every single day, I practice what I preach, right? And trying to make sure that my tank stays full, because even on those hard days where we get depleted mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, you got to make sure that you're disconnecting, replenishing your energy, right? Through prayer, exercise, meditation, recreation, doing something fun. And bottom line, though, is you got to be intentional in all those facets.
So Julio's got some tips to share with all of us about starting the new year. Here's tip number 1: set clear and attainable goals. seems easy enough, but not so much sometimes.
No, you're right. Look, you don't want to have New Year's resolutions, right? Because the data's real clear. As a matter of fact, one study shows that by the end of January, 50% of New Year's resolutions are gone, right?
That's right.
But setting goals means I'm going to write it down, because when you write it down, it becomes a commitment. And I think that you ought to have that for your personal life. I think you ought to have that for your professional life. I think you ought to have for your financial life. I think you ought to have it for your relationships. And I think you ought to have it for your spiritual life. If you neglect, in order to optimize your productivity in life, you have to cover those facets. Some people just want to focus. I got goals to make money. Well, money's not enough, because there are other aspects. Hey, your health is important. Your marriage is important, right? Your family is important. So having clear goals for those areas of your life are extremely important and make a difference.
So we're going to take a break. There's another part of tip number one I want to dig into, and that's the attainable part. So we got this one and 4 more, talking with Julio Melara. First show of 2025. Back with more of it in just a moment. Getting you right for the new year. Julio Melara is still here, CEO and president of Melara Enterprises. Now, tip 1, you said set clear and attainable goals, and I wanted to come back to that because it's the attainable part that I'd like you to lean in on. Because again, if someone says, you know what, in 2025, I'm gonna climb Mount Everest, you might want to start with a levee first. So how do you get people to set clear and attainable goals?
Well, again, everything is baby steps, right? You go through phases. Whether you want to run your first marathon, right? You start off, hey, let me get to a mile, right?
Right.
Let me get to 2 miles. Let me get to 5 miles. Let me get to 10 miles.
Right.
Or, hey, I want to lose 25 pounds this year, right? You don't want to fast with no food for 30 days, right? and collapse, right? Hey, you want to say, hey, you know what? 1 pound a week. How am I going to do that, right? And I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do some cardio. I'm going to watch my carb intake. I'm going to stay away from fried foods, right? So it's all, the way you attain these goals is by being very methodical and programming your goals for long term, right? It's not an overnight, right? That's 1. 2, I think accountability. Right, you have somebody, because we have the times that we veer off or we get off, where we're going, and which leads me to 3. This is why you got to speak it. So let me give you an example. 3 years ago, I hadn't written a book. I wrote 4 books in 7 years, and then I had kids. I haven't written anything in 20 years. But a year and a half ago, I started telling people I'm coming out with a new book. I started speaking it. So now I'm holding myself accountable.
I like that.
And people are asking me, when's your book coming out, right? So on those weekends when I feel like not writing, I get back to writing, because I've already made that commitment to myself and to other people.
Okay, I like that. All right.
I'm going to lose 25 pounds. I'm going to run the marathon, right? You start sharing that.
Yeah.
You are? What are you going to be doing at training? That's right. So it holds you accountable.
Don't be telling people y'all are going to climb Mount Everest now. I'm just saying. All right, tip number 2, Alyssa. Create a morning routine. So important.
Yes.
So important.
So the morning creates your tone for the day.
Yeah.
So the morning is very, very important. Your mind's uncluttered. It can focus. And so whether that is getting up to read, that is going to exercise, that's meditating, that's prayer, the morning sets the tone. So create a morning routine where it's consistent. So for me, every morning, I read, I pray, I work out. That's my routine, and it sets my tone for when I go to work. I'm already energized, right? And I know we've talked about gratitude a lot, right? But one thing I do is every evening I find 3 things that I'm grateful for, even in my worst days. And so that's become another habit. That's my evening routine, right? Yeah. But watch how it correlates. The studies show, and I can tell you practically because I do this, that when I have gratitude before I go to bed, not watching TV, not social media, not anything, but I have gratitude, my subconscious absorbs that gratitude, and it gives me momentum in the morning. It gives me momentum in the morning. So again, you got to create a morning routine and just see what fits, right, in what area, but you got to have one.
The psychological impact of having a routine every day, for me, it gives you something that you can say you've accomplished before you leave your home or before you head into work.
Well, and look, let's frame it this way, right? A lot of people desire a lot of things. Most of us desire a lot of the same things, but habits will take you further than desire. So when you create
I like
positive, right, productive habits, like your morning routine, right? It's consistent. Your body will automatically get into the flow, and it just sets the tone for your day.
Yeah. When did you pick that up, though? About having to create a morning routine?
Oh my goodness, probably over 15, 20 years ago. It's just been a game changer. It's just been a game changer because, again, you have a lot of distractions. You have a lot of things pulling at you, including your own flesh, right? They may not want to get out of bed, right? I had a big, heavy dinner last night, but once I have this routine, and then what happens is that once you get into the flow and you feel good and you have energy, I mean, you just realize, oh my God, this is a game changer. I don't want to deviate because anytime you do, you revert back to your old ways.
Yeah. Man, so good. So we've got other tips from Julio to talk about, and also we'll ask him his thoughts on East Baton Rouge Parish and the Capital Region for 2025. Don't forget, you can catch the show online at WAFB.com or on the app, the WAFB app. WAFB Plus, 7 o'clock on Fridays, replaying on Saturday at 3 p.m. I'm telling you what, this is like Michelin-rated restaurant quality stuff going on over here right now. I'm enjoying it, talking with Julio Melara about 2025. Can you believe it, 2025? Remember when we were freaking out over the Y2K and, you know, the machines were going to rise up against us, the ATMs wouldn't work and all this other stuff, and now we are a quarter of a century into this this century. So it's crazy. We're on to tip number 3 right now, talking about some tips from Julio to get you right for 2025. Alyssa, what's up next? Oh man, declutter your environment and mind. This might be my favorite of the 5, so I can't wait to have you get into this one.
Well, you know, so and I'm talking, this is for unclutter physically and mentally. Your workspace, your home, get rid of things that don't serve you well, right? And because it really leads to the other aspect, which is the mind, right? I think probably one of the top reasons why people are not achieving the levels of success or productivity or the outcomes that they're looking for is because their minds are cluttered. Right, and so in order, as we go into the new year, you're gonna have to unclutter your mind. You got to get rid of distractions, right, and have the ability to focus. Have the ability to focus. The data's pretty clear, right? The science shows that when you have an uncluttered mind, your creative juices working at optimum levels, and you have the ability to focus, right? And focus is so important as we head into the new year, right? And I'm talking about focusing on your goals and the outcomes that you want in your business, in your career, with your family, because again, what you focus on, you master. And where your focus goes, your energy also flows, right? And so again, decluttering our minds and getting rid of distractions, maybe even things that are toxic, right? Hey man, you know what? I've let my mind wander. I'm not gonna. I'm getting rid of that, right? And I'm gonna start being a better steward of my mind and feeding it the right information, feeding it the right education, feeding the right inspiration, feeding it the right spiritual aspects of it, right? So that I'm clear. I have clarity, right, in terms of what I want to accomplish in the new year.
Same goes with people, right? I mean, without being judgmental, thinking about who is and isn't good for your circle.
Well, hey, that leads me to there's 4 types of people in your life.
Okay,
those that multiply, add, subtract, and divide. And look, I've done this. I haven't done it this year because I'm pretty much free of people that are subtracting, dividing from my life.
I still got Johnny Asian to get rid of. I'm working on it though.
But let me tell you, it's extremely important, right? Because show me who your friends are and who you hang out with. I'm gonna tell you where you're gonna be going.
It's so funny, man. The clarity of thought of having an uncluttered mind, an uncluttered space, just everything about that gives you freedom and a sense of. You know, why is that so hard for people? Why do people work their way back to environments or people or habits that aren't good for them?
Well, again, I think you know, it's hard.
Yeah.
You know, all things that are productive are hard, right? And I think what happens is that it's easy to fall back on what's easy, right? And it's hard to do the hard things, right?
Yeah.
But again, if you have accountability, if you have a circle of friends that keep you accountable, that remind you, if you write it down, if you look at it. I have a friend of mine, and he has his goals, and he's got a sticky note on his mirror where he shaves. And every morning when he looks at it, he reads the note, and it says, "You're looking at the problem." Right? Right.
I like that.
I told him to
like that.
I told him to underline it and also put, "And you're looking at the solution."
That's right. You're
Right.
looking at the solution
And you're looking
too.
at the solution too.
Right,
Right.
right. That's
Exactly.
pretty good. I need to put a sticky note up on that because that's absolutely the truth. And I think people should really take hold of this, because the other thing that we didn't talk about, we got 30 seconds here, but the impact on stress. And we'll get into it in the next segment, because you talked about it on the podcast about stress and how stress isn't always bad, because stress in the form of resistance helps you. And speaking of the podcast, the C-Suite, the first one of 2025, features this gentleman. We don't do the tips. It's not the same show. It's a dialogue about winning and how to thrive in an environment. He is absolutely the best, and you'll catch him on the next edition of the C-Suite. One more segment with Julio next. All right, final segment with Julio Melara, talking about 2025 tips to get you right both in your personal life and in business. Let's go right to number 4. Focus on self-care and rest. Yeah, I struggle with that one, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, this is extremely important. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
True.
And many times people are focused on the external things, and you got to take care of yourself. The studies are pretty clear. In order to have clarity, right, and to operate and to live and to work at your optimal levels, good night's sleep, good nutrition, exercising, right, physical checkups as you get older, right, you used to make sure. This, to me, is probably one of the most important. When I was younger, I'd like to grind and think I was getting things done more, but again, the science shows that you need to disengage from work, right? It's important to take good vacations, to have recreation, right? To do things, right? Once again, energy, right? Because you replenish your energy, you come back, your tank's full, you feel stronger, you're able to be more productive, and you have a sense of strength,
Yeah.
right, to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. But it all starts with your health. If you don't, some people don't do good because they don't feel good.
Right.
Right. And you have to be intentional, particularly with the diets that we have in this country. You know, the amount of preservatives and the way we eat. You know, you got to be wise, right? And again, you got to be intentional and write it down.
It's the rest one that, you know, the gym thing is not that difficult. It's better about it now, because you read so many studies about what the lack of sleep does to both your brain and your ability to be productive in every area of life. All right, what about number 5? Reflect and celebrate progress.
Okay, I think this is so good. I had just finished doing this myself.
Okay.
I went back. I journal. I don't journal every day, but I think it's important to look back and see, hey, what worked? What didn't work? What were the painful moments of my life in this past year or this past quarter or whatever? Because there's always purpose in the pain. And here's the thing. If we extract the lessons, right? You can't live in your past, and you can't live in regret, and you can't live in your success, you can't live in your failure. So the key is to extract the lesson, right? So journal, write down. So why, Julio? So you don't forget.
Right.
And next time you're going through that storm, you can look back and say, hey, man, I made it through. This is just another season, right, that I'm going to get better. 1. And 2, you know, you celebrate. You take a look at, my God, I lost those 25 pounds. Oh, my God, you know, our business grew. Oh, my goodness. You know, whatever it is with your goals, right? And you celebrate, right? And you integrate fun. Life has got to be fun.
Gotta be.
I don't see enough people laughing or having enough fun,
Yeah.
right? You got to be
Oh,
intentional
yes,
about
that's true.
fun.
That's
right?
so true. Why is that?
Right? Look, I just think it's been the cultural thing, but I can tell you this much: laughing provides the same endorphins you do working out, right? Which is the reason I love watching comedians, right? But I just want you to stop and think about this. Psychologists say children's greatest memories come when they have had fun in the family, and as
Yeah.
adults, when we look back, those are the times that we remember the most.
Yeah.
And so I think as a family, even in your business, in terms of culture, how can we have fun and really enjoy the ride? Because work is hard,
It is.
but you got to enjoy it, right?
It is, yeah.
And you have to be intentional about it.
And I do think you have to celebrate not just big victories, but small ones too.
Oh, for sure, man.
Kind of gets you right for the bigger ones. Let's spend the balance of the time talking about the region. January, you've got next month a big event coming up that's going to celebrate the region and then highlight some of the things going on here. What is your hope for EBR? I asked you this on the podcast as well. But what's your hope for the capital region in 2025?
That is easy. I really want every surrounding parish, I want people in this region, right, to believe and to have more positivity about this community. And let me tell you what I mean real quickly. I have invited people from all over the country over the last couple of years to come to our town. And words that they use is, what a charming city. I've never been to a town, man, such friendly people, such great food, right? But the natives, people have been so down. And what I'm saying is that I'd like to see us really appreciate the assets and the things that are going right in our community, right? It's easy when you travel somewhere because you're only going to the nice place, but every city has its downside and bad side of town, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm telling you, we are primed. These next couple of years, some of the new projects and initiatives that are going to be announced very, very, very soon I'm hoping are going to help galvanize. They're working on a plan for downtown and to do something with our riverfront that's way overdue, right? But we have a lot of positive things coming down the pike for our community. But we got to believe, we got to think big, and we got to get out of that status quo and that negative thinking that we can't, or we're too small, or we won't, because the answer is we can.
Yeah, well, you sent that podcast by Ed Milet, and he said a lot of people think you have to see it to believe it. He said you have to believe it to see it.
That's right.
I thought that was so great. So Julio Melara, CEO of the Baton Rouge Melara Enterprises, owner of the Baton Rouge Business Report, and Register in 225 magazine. If you don't get the daily report, that must mean you just got here. But if you've been here for a while, you know that's where a lot of business news is broken. And I appreciate you, brother, friend of mine for a very long time. All right, let's try to have a good go of it in 2025, y'all, here on the Clay Young Show. A lot of good stuff on the horizon. I'm excited about it. There's where you can catch us on the socials. Have a blessed weekend.